Anwar Ali, London, UK. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Some advice on approaching Muslims that are passive aggressive, always complain, and has a huff and puff when they don't get what they want.
طيب. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalam ala rasulillah. Question is from London about Muslims who are passive aggressive. How to approach Muslims like this. Muslims, you advise them, they always give a huff and a puff, and so on and so forth. Well, Allah knows best. I think there may be a difference between passive aggressive and huffing and puffing. My experience in life, most people who are passive aggressive are normally peaceful, easygoing people. But they take the insult or the injury or the static and they internalize it. And then later on they take revenge in subtle ways. They huff and puff in a different way at a different time. I think that's the difference between someone who's just always disgruntled and angry and fussy. I think there's a difference. All right? Wallahu alam. Al-Muhim, I would advise you to focus on yourself. And if you have the ability to give a Muslim advice who has an attitude problem or is very vengeful and spiteful and holds grudges, you give them advice of the virtue of suppressing anger and diffusing anger. There's a difference between the two. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Suppressing it and diffusing it. So when you suppress something, it doesn't mean that it goes away. Oftentimes you hold it in your chest and it comes out worse later on. That's not the same as diffusing it, saying, you know what, forget about it, it's over, I forgive you, don't even worry. Al-Muhim, the Quran and the Sunnah explain to us the importance of forgiving people, of pardoning people, and not holding people to account for everything that they say and they do. All right? And the Prophet ﷺ tells us, إِنَّمَا النَّاسُ كَالْإِبِلِ الْمِئَةِ. People are like 100 camels. لَا تَكَادْ تَجِدُ فِيهَا رَاحِلَةً. You can barely find one camel that's suitable to ride from among 100. And some of the ulama of Islam, they explain this hadith to mean and to be interpreted that if you look for a perfect friend who has no flaw, who has no mistake, who has no error, you'll barely have a friend. And the same applies to a wife, and the same applies to a husband. A flaw. I don't like her because her eyes like this, her hair is like that, her face is like this, her body is like that, her feet, her hands. You'll never get married. You'll never be married. Okay? And you'll never stay married if only thing that you look at is imperfection and flaw. Okay? So if someone has these issues, give them advice. But at the same time, don't be overcritical on them. You focus on yourself and try to lead by example. And the believer is the mirror of his fellow believing brother or sister. Wallahu alam.
Muhammad Salah Farwaniya, Kuwait. Who is your favorite Quran reciter and why? I hope you listen to Sheikh Ahmed Hamid's recitations.
Question. So my brother from Kuwait, with regards to who is your favorite Quranic reciter and why. And I hope that you listen to, we said Ahmed
Hamid.
Ahmed Hamid. So, my favorite reciter, Allahu Alam, I think that all reciters have their benefit and have their virtues. If I had to pick one, it's definitely Abdul Basit. If I had to pick one from the old school. If I had to pick one from the second generation, in my humble opinion, it would be Muhammad Ayub from Medina, rahimahullah. As far as the new generation, Allahu Alam, I don't really listen to modern day reciters like that. Unless it's in person, of course, in the Salat, the masjid. But it's like, if I go on YouTube or if I'm downloading an MP3 or if I'm trying to listen to somebody, I would never pick nobody that's current alive. And Allah knows best. As far as why, I feel Abdul Basit's recitation is without match. I think it's indescribable. There's no word that you can give to Abdul Basit's recitation, whether it's tajweed or tartil. And that's what I was brought up on and raised up on in my household and my family. And I remember when I was younger, my father had a copy of one of the original recordings of the Quran al-Kareem. The first time it was actually recorded on tape. We had a copy of that album in our household from Abdul Basit, and we also had tapes from Husri as well. It's another one of my favorites as well, but I feel Abdul Basit is more beloved to me personally. And there are many reciters that I like. I love to listen to many. Wallahu alam.
Just FYI, Ahmed Hamid, he's leaving Medina.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah.
Khidr Nasir, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Just wanted to share the good news that I am married now, alhamdulillah. By the way, any advice for newly accepted students of the University of Malaysia?
Tayyib, our brother Khidr got married, MashaAllah. Congratulations. Barakallahu laka wa baraka alayka wa jama'a bainakum bi khair. Ameen. Congratulations. May Allah bless you in your marriage. As far as advice to new students of Medina, then it's to learn from the people who came before them. Learn, take the good from them, and avoid their mistakes and their errors. Take the good, take their past experiences and wisdoms for free, and avoid their mistakes. And build your own and create your own techniques, your own styles, your own methods, and do not remain upon something that is useless. Wa alaikum salam to Allah. If something is useful, take it. If it's useless, then discard it. And most importantly, as the wise man once said, create your own. Work on your own style, your own technique, your own legacy. Wallahu alam.
What is the ruling on saying Sadaqallah al-Alim after finished reciting?
What time is the iqamah?
In 3 minutes.
Tayyib. Question on saying Sadaqallah al-Azim after recitation of the Quran. May Allah bless you. It should not be said. And many scholars say that it's a bid'ah. The Prophet never did it. Nor did his companions do it. Wallahu alam.
Initials AB, London, UK. What is a brother allowed to see during a marriage meeting?
Inshallah, next class, perhaps, on this book. And if you want to answer now, please go back to the video that we did it. We did a video on this. What is the proposed, or what can a man look at from the proposed woman? We did a whole session on this. Wallahu alam.
This was SA, Sacramento, California. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Is it a form of shirk to eat meat that's not halal and say Bismillah over it?
Question is from Sacramento. Is it a form of shirk to eat meat that is not halal and to say Bismillah over it? I want to say it's a form of shirk. Is it permissible? It's a different story. Are you making it permissible and saying that it's halal, being obstinate against the text of the Quran and the Sunnah versus having an interpretation? I want to say shirk. So it's going to be shirk unless you fall into something which necessitates shirk. What's important is a Muslim should try his or her best to eat the meats that he or she knows have been slaughtered properly from a Muslim, a Jew, or a Christian. And of course, on top of that, say Bismillah. As far as taking an animal that was suffocated or electrocuted to death or drowned in scalding hot water or freezing cold water or whatever the method of taking the animal's life and then saying Bismillah upon it, something that I wouldn't agree with. And Allah knows best. Sallallahu alaihi wa sallam wa baraka ala abdihi wa rasulihi nabiyina wa imamina